Hey guys, it's Carrie. Super quick before we start this video, you can now become a member of our channel. Just click the join button next to the subscribe button. It's $5 a month. It's kind of like a Twitch subscription. For those of you who don't know, you get loyalty badges, you get emotes and chat, and you also get some perks that we have made ourselves. And one of those perks is getting to ask us questions on our podcast, like a Q&A. And this is something that we've been kind of toying with the idea of having like an Overwatch League podcast where we talk about stuff Overwatch League related. And this is kind of like our first go at it. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Let us know if you think it's shit or not. If you think it's shit, let us know.
Yeah, podcast.
Yeah. Okay. So this is first episode 1. We don't know if this will be a weekly thing. It probably won't be. Hopefully not. Well, maybe after the musical, which will be a lot more. At least a good amount of us will be more free after the musical. Yeah. But this is episode 1 of our, I guess we'll call it Overwatch League podcast. We'll go through some of the games and we'll just talk about Overwatch. Let's see, who's in this call? We got me, Carrie, Preston, you want to say hi?
Hi.
And then Nick.
Hello.
And then Justin.
Hello.
Okay, so we'll go through the, well first, actually, we'll have overall thoughts on at least the first, is it 2 weeks now? Yeah, first 2 weeks of season 2. What do you guys, at least your initial thoughts?
Okay, I'll start.
Yeah.
So, I have watched a majority. I've watched the majority of the games this season, and I am really enjoying how close a lot of the games are. Like, if you look at all the standings, all the games, and the scores of the game so far, there are a lot of 3-2s. There are a lot of map 5s. There are a lot of 2-1s, which means the game was even tied. So, like, that definitely shows how close the teams are when it comes to this meta. But at the same time, you look at the most played team composition, and it's goats.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, you see goats, and you immediately think, "Oh, hold W, press Q occasionally."
Nick doesn't like. You don't like goats. Well, okay. Well, how do you guys feel about just goats as a meta? Because a lot of people don't like it. They feel it's boring. That it's just boring to watch. The same 6 heroes being picked all the time.
I don't know how the pros run anything other than goats, because like they get their ults up so fast. I mean, Zarya has a grab just about every fight, and there's a trance on the other side, and people I remember in the beginning of the game people talking about like ult exchanges in ranked and how hectic those were, and that's nothing compared to what's happening right now in the Overwatch League.
I remember we were watching that. I think it was London against no, was it London against Washington Justice, that game. I remember London used self-destruct, earth shatter, grav, transcendence, and beat, and still lost the fight.
And lost the fight.
And the only reason was because the other team also used transcendence, grav, beat, earth shatter, diva bomb. Like,
yeah.
Okay, like it's kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say that it just kind of sucks. But I don't mind goats, but I totally understand why people hate it as the meta right now.
I think they have kind of adapted to it though. If you watch the Shanghai Dragons match, you saw
we'll get to that.
Sombra had a large impact.
We'll get to that.
That
well,
game.
yeah, okay. So that's the thing where it's like there's mainly goats, right? So you have Ryan, Zarya, Diva, and then Lucio, Brig, Zen, and so there are like 3 main modifications you can make. One is switching Diva with Sombra. 2 is switching switching Zenyatta with Moira. And then what was the third one? Third one was
it was Zenyatta with Ana, I think, too.
Well, there's Ana. No, sorry. The third one was switching Ryan with Winston.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you have floats or like flying goats or Winston goats. Mm-hmm.
And Carrie, you said this to me the other day. You said something about how it's so like it feels so weird because goats is probably like one of the only compositions you'll ever see that can like survive a grav without a scratch. Like it's so insane.
A diva bomb will go off and no one will die, and it's like, well, I mean, not when everyone is so much health.
5 people die.
Yeah.
That happened.
Well, the thing is that because what counters goats, at least what generally considered a good, see, one of the few comps that like can somewhat counter goats is having like a multi DPS comp, like lots of poke, because Goats doesn't have a lot of long range. So if you have like a shit ton of DPS that can pick you apart from long range, it'll work. But then the thing is that let's say multi DPS counters Goats. And then, so if you're running Goats, they run multi DPS. Like, well, shit, we're being countered. What do we do now? Oh, guess what comp works well against multi DPS? Dive. And last season was almost entirely Dive. And I think a lot of teams are just happy to go back to Dive comps. So it's like, if you switch to counter Goats, you're only opening yourself to become countered more strongly.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that's why a lot of people are like, just don't play Goats or play something different. But it's like the counter to Goats is hard countered by Dive, which a lot of Overwatch League teams would love to play right now. I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, I think like an excellent example of why a lot of teams run Goats is if you watch the Seoul Dynasty Chengdu Hunters match. That was so one-sided, Seoul Dynasty, and it was because they were like, okay, we'll play Hammond. They tried to play a more fluid comp, and the Hammond would go initiate, and they'd say thanks for the 5v6, and then they'd pick up the Hammond later. So that's also why Dive isn't really that great, because if a Winston is going to dive into a Brig, a Zen, and a Reinhardt, it's just not going to end well.
Okay, so we have we'll get into the games right now. So first game of the season, we'll have Fusion versus Spitfire.
My boys won.
I didn't expect Spitfire to be, and we'll see this at the start of Spitfire's at least early stage 1 woes. They're not doing so hot, which surprised me a little bit because they did so well last year, and I get that especially they did so well in the finals. I get that, it's a bit of a different meta, but it's like even last year, Brig was played. Well, I think in the finals, Brig was played, but it's like it wasn't true Goats yet. You know what I mean? Like it was some Goats sprinkled in here and there, but London can still run Winston Diva against a Goats comp and still somewhat win. But now it's like the meta is so purely Goats that London is like, well, shit.
Okay, I have one thing to say. I have one thing to say about that. So with Goats, like you can see, there are two teams that I'm talking about specifically. We haven't really seen much of the NYXL actually so far. And they're doing okay so far. What's their record? I think it's
2-0, 3-0, 3-0.
They're 3-0. Okay, so never mind. Completely ignore the NYXL. But the London Spitfire, they haven't been doing well, and they were the champions last year. And you think of the Korean players, and the moment you think of Korean players, you think of Carpe, you think of Sabiolbi, you think of Jonak, all these amazing skill players, and then they're thriving in a meta that was Dive, which was all based on like Dive, and then towards the end of the season, it was the multi DPS one healer, and Rissa Hog. And those are sort of metas where the Korean players who has always been the best skill base wise in the entire world, and then you get to Goats, where like you see where I'm going with this. It's you get to these amazing players that are on
it's
that
like,
are on the
you aren't gonna win a team fight with sick flex.
It's like you see players like Fleta or Agilities, Libero, Pine, Sabiolbi. It's like, well, you're gonna be playing Brig. Like I saw a comment about like Jonak MVP, he deserves it, and I saw a reply to that comment where it was like, man, they should have an MVP award for each category. So it's like MVP tank for the season, MVP support, and then MVP for extremely talented DPS that got stuck with Brig duty. That's what kind of sucks. And I guess Jonak is the only real like talented person that's like still thriving because he gets to play Zenyatta, and even then, I'll bet you he's not enjoying it because it's not the same as Zenyatta in Dive.
I was just gonna say something interesting I want to point out is if you watch the Atlanta Reign play, they if you watch specifically their most recent match against the Defiant, right? What's interesting is how fluid they were with staying away from Goats.
Yeah.
Like they were just so flexible, and it was crazy.
Yeah, I feel like a lot.
Bastion comp.
Even like
that May wall was dirty. I still see that in my nightmares, dude.
Even in like the Chengdu Hunters game, like even though they got 4-0'd, a lot of people were like, well, props to them for not just going brain dead. Resident Sleeper playing goats. Like, it's so funny. Twitch chat will just be like, they'll see a DPS, they'll be DPS. Somebody pog champs, and then it's like a Sombra that's just scouting, and they'll translocate back to spawn and switch to brig, and everyone's like, "Oh, Resident Sleeper, it's goats." But okay, so I guess, is there anything else you want to say about the? Yeah?
Sorry,
no, you're fine. Go on.
Okay, so there was one thing I want to speak about with the next matchup with the NYXL.
Yeah. Fusions, man. Oh my god.
So there's the NYXL versus Boston Uprising. Yeah, it was a 2-1. But first off, I want to talk about the Boston Uprising. They're my boys. I'm sorry, I'm a little biased.
He's a fan. He's a fan.
Yes. Okay. But
he's also a Red Sox fan.
So okay. But okay, so you can see, and I'm not just talking about the Uprising right here. I'm talking about a lot of teams like the Atlanta Reign. You can never ever count out the Contenders players. The Contenders players have definitely proven that coming from Contenders, they can definitely hang with the players like Jonak. Like I'm going to use Fusions as an example because Fusions is actually
out.
Okay, I didn't get the last.
Roasted.
Okay. What?
Okay. No. No. Okay. But Fusions definitely proved it in week 1, where you can't count any of the Contenders players out. You can't count any of them out. Like,
was
new
Fusions
players.
a Contenders player?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm talking.
The entirety of Vancouver was just a Contenders.
Well,
team.
yeah, but their Korea, but like Contenders Korea is like yeah, it's a different thing than the Contenders North America. Let's be real.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Who's another player? Oh, Blase, who's also on the well, it's not present.
Dogman. Another one.
Yeah, no. Blase has been playing very good as well. He's been doing a really good job in the DPS freaking DPS
as good as a DPS can be doing in this meta.
Yeah. Hey, it's really good for the Tracer mains who can just swap to Zarya, right? Still have all that tracking.
Right,
Yeah.
Fran?
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Yeah. That's also a thing where, like, okay, so if you guys don't know, I might have said this before multiple times, but it's like with Fusions, like if you don't know the story, so Axiom is their main tank, and then Color Hacks was their off tank, but then Color Hacks, I think that's his name, Color something. He got banned.
Color Hacks.
He got
Why
suspended.
Did he get banned again?
He got suspended for 2 games because he was boosting accounts.
Oh.
So now Uprising like, shit, what do we do? So I got it. Okay. So Axiom had to learn how to play Zarya in like a few days. I mean, he probably already knew how to play it, but you know what I mean? Like play it with the team and everything. And so he had to learn how to play Zarya very quickly. And then Fusions, like I think the day or two after he steps foot in America, after the plane touches down, a day or two, he plays Reinhardt, he plays main tank for Uprising, and he goes toe-to-toe with Mono, even though they lost, right? Mono had 7 Earthshatter stuns that game, or at some point. I don't know when that stat was recorded, but compared, Fusions had 22. Like, he went toe-to-toe with Mono, who was, like, one of the best main tanks in the world, like, a day or two after he just comes on the team. And, that only boosted his popularity, especially after the World Cup. Like, even now, it's just so much higher, which is crazy. I don't know. Like, that's just blows my mind. And it's a shame that he got subbed out, because during the Shanghai game, right, so Color Hacks' suspension was gone. So they just subbed, and I think there might be a lot of fan outrage against that, because he was such a good player. And now he's going to get subbed to the bench.
Yeah.
It just
got subbed to the bench, and I think we all know what happened.
And then they lost to the Shanghai. Okay,
yeah.
No, so
not yet.
All right, continue.
All right, Seoul Dynasty versus Los Angeles Gladiators. I'm gonna be honest. A lot of these matches I don't remember too much from them. But oh wait, I think the Sim strat, right? Was this the match?
Yes,
put up the Sim.
Yes, it was.
First time. It was actually crazy. Actually, this is a stat I didn't think would come true. The first 2 days of the Overwatch League in Season 2, all 29 heroes were used. And actually, did damage. Not just, picked and then just switched off. Like, they actually did damage.
Not Sombra.
which is actually really impressive. Like, even last year, not all the heroes were used. which I guess I don't know. I guess I don't know. I don't want to say that's a good job on Blizzard's part for making heroes a bit more viable, but I don't know. It's nice that,
No,
at least the heroes were played, and regardless of how tiny
that
they were.
that I think is a result of the reworks that they definitely had coming through. Like last season they had some of the reworks done to be able to make characters more viable. I just think all of it wasn't. I think all of it wasn't completely there. But then you get the Torbjorn rework, you get the Sim rework, and the Sim rework was there at the end of the season. But you don't want to be using a risky Sim when it's playoffs or grand finals. So I think, but once it comes into this season, I think they're going to try to experiment with a lot of other characters, especially because people are getting sick of goats. Like you can't say people aren't getting sick of goats. That would be a massive lie, because it's just like goats is just not incredibly fun to play. Goats is not incredibly fun to watch, and it's just a bunch of people running around swinging stuff and shooting stuff. So I think people are going to look for options in that sort of people are going to try to look for options in order to counter goats. And I honestly think that those sort of characters, the cheesy characters, but not cheesy, but characters that are sort of gimmicky, like might be able to actually do that. Like May split off the comp. What are they going to do? If you use Torbjorn and you use Molten Core on all the armor, they're completely gone. And Sim's ult.
Some of those strats also rely on the fact that for the most part, teams just don't know how to deal with it. Like,
Yeah.
I remember Shorefar was talking about Sim. He's like, your Symmetra, right? Like, once you get charged up, you just left click onto a Reinhardt shield and you're getting ammo, and the Reinhardt's like, what the fuck? I didn't prepare for this. Like,
Yeah.
Like, and then it's basically just a second high charge Zarya, and even
This
like
wasn't in the simulations.
the shock against the Fuel, they just use a Sim TP strat. They on first point attack Horizon, they just Sim TP to the point, and we just put 3 Sim turrets up, and OG just couldn't contest, and they just got took off and won. And I don't know, like that's also, I guess, is part of it, but I hope we'll see more other comps and in the Overwatch League than just goats. Also, so next match, Shanghai Dragons versus Spark. Man, I don't know what it is about the Overwatch League in the first week, but they've been really kind of rude to the not rude, sorry. They've just been kind of like beneficial to the new expansion teams. Like Atlanta Reign, your first match you play Florida Mayhem. Like Hangzhou Spark, first match of the season, you play the Shanghai Dragons. Like
Vancouver Titans' first match was against Shanghai too.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that the Florida Mayhem isn't a good team?
No, but I will say that, like, a lot of people see the Florida Mayhem as a meme, but it's like that team is basically an entirely new team, so it's hard to call it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But still, it's like...
Okay.
Last week, Gamsu wasn't on Shanghai, was he? Right?
He was a recent add
was.
season, but no, he was on the team.
Oh, okay.
He was really recent. So
Got it.
Yeah.
So I have one thing to make about that. So on the teams that were on like the completely lower part of the standings last year, Dragons, Florida Mayhem, and the Shock are the 3 that I'm talking about mainly. How many those teams that didn't do insanely good? You think about them and how different are they now? Like it's almost completely like this season coming into this season, they are completely new teams. Like you think of the Shanghai Dragons roster, and who was it? They kept 2 players today. They kept Dia
and Geggery.
And they kept
Geggery.
Dia and Geggery. Everyone else
because you can't cut Geggery.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'd cut you.
Florida, their roster, Hagopion, they got Swan. A Saya player was Saya player on the team last year?
Yeah.
Yes. And to Vic, but the rest, I'm pretty sure the rest of them are completely new as well. And you look at the Shock. Out of all 3 of those teams, I think the Shock had the biggest upgrade. You look at their roster; they're insane. And I think that also might have to do with the fact that they're trying to put these new expansion teams up against those teams, because it's almost like putting a brand new team up against another brand new team.
I guess, yeah.
I think it's a different team, but I don't think it's fair to say that they aren't exactly the same team. So if you think about it, last year, at the beginning of this time last year when the season was first starting, right? These teams are all brand new. They're all in these new different situations. So then they have to adapt. So we won't be actually seeing, what the new San Francisco Shock's gonna look like, what the new Dallas Fuel is gonna look like until later in the season. Right now we're gonna see the same results we saw all of last year because they're whole new teams. Like all these teams redid their whole roster. We aren't gonna see what they are this year until probably I wouldn't say until like week 6. I feel like it's a safe bet to say that they aren't even a team. They're just kind of a pickup, like a comp pickup. I don't know.
I kind of get what you mean. Okay, so Toronto Defiant, first game, reverse sweep the Houston Outlaws. Other teams, I can excuse them for first match jitters, but the Houston Outlaws is a team that shouldn't be doing this. It's not a good start. They get reverse swept by an expansion team. And they signed Dante. That's one thing that always confused me. They know the meta's going to be goats. Why did they sign basically a tracer specialist?
Because they looked at DeFran and was like, "Oh, we can do that too."
Yeah, I don't know.
They're just they're future proofing their roster.
Like
Yeah.
Houston Outlaws, they barely made any off-season changes. Like I don't know what their plan is. They just sort of seem like a team that's like, I don't know. I just don't know what they have planned. Like
I think they're banking on
a meta
Muma.
switch.
Yeah, like a meta switch, and then Muma being able to step up finally.
Yeah, like just even like I think Sideshow said this. Like, there's not a lot of good when you look at like Korean main tanks. Not fusions, Fisher, Fate, Mono. These like really Bumper even. These really, really good. Like
Bumper, Vancouver has a mouth on him, and I like it.
Yeah, like these really, really good Korean main tanks. And then even EU, like you got fusions. You have Ben Best coming in. And then NA, it's like Muma, I guess?
No.
Or like Super maybe, but it's just like no one really comes to mind.
I'm not saying, but I'm just saying.
Pick me and Preston up, Overwatch League.
No, and I think this is also part of the fact that it's like NA was the last region to really adopt goats. Like it's because Europe was very.
We were still trying to get good at dive. Okay.
like goats reached America and Korea last, and I guess with Korea, it's just they're Korea. They can adapt to everything. I feel like they have just that aspect to them, but. European goats was like really, really good, and a lot of people were like, can American teams really keep up with EU goats because they're just so good at it? And yeah, I don't know, I don't really see any good main tanks in NA, at least in this meta. Anything else on that match?
Sorry, Justin, for cutting off. You can go.
No, that's cool.
Okay, so next one, Atlanta Reign versus Florida Mayhem. Holy shit, dude! The Torb, dude. Because sometimes they'll pick Torb as a joke and like they'll immediately switch off because they're an attacker spawn. I'm like, okay, yeah. But DeFran, I was Torb. I was like, all right. And then the match started. And I was like, and then he walked out, and I was like, wait, he's not switching? And it was, dude, perfect. I don't know if that was, it had to be planned, but I don't know who pitched that idea. I don't know if DeFran like himself pitched it.
It might have been DeFran.
Yeah. Okay. But what's funny is that.
Look at that face. How is it not DeFran?
But what's funny is that what's funny is that they played. I mean, obviously they played around it, but it's like they definitely scrimmed or stratted or like strategized, if that's what, like with the Torb, which is like, I don't know. It's like. I mean, Atlanta Reign, I'm just saying, it's a big risk they're doing. It's almost like the XQC thing last year. Like, it was a big publicity thing. He is a talented player, but it's also with the publicity. He's a very big Twitch streamer. He's a very, what's the word? Like, very
vocal?
Excited. Yeah, very vocal, very loud, rambunctious attitude in his streams. Big following. Yeah, it's great. It gets you a lot of new fans and whatnot, but it was kind of like a loose cannon. A lot of fines for saying stuff he probably shouldn't have, and just a lot of stuff.
Okay.
I doubt DeFran's gonna be like
as bad. Yeah,
as
but it's
bad as
but
XQC
but the thing
was.
is that two main things that kind of scare me. One, even before the Overwatch League started, he tweeted out, "Yeah, I'm fucking done with Overwatch League," and then he was like, "Nah, sorry, I kind of changed my mind." Like, he'll just tweet stuff like that out, and people just panicked. But they said that they have like a team doctor or whatever, and he's gonna make sure his mental health is all right. And also another thing that kind of worried me was the fact that he talked about he talked about the interview. If you don't know, right after the game, I don't know her name, but she in the interview asked a friend. It's like, so what was the question? I forgot what it was. But okay, so basically she asked the friend a question. The friend said, "With the help of Twitch Prime, I managed to pop off." And her face is really surprised. And the reason why Defran explained in his stream is that it was actually supposed to be scripted. So she was gonna hype up Defran, and Defran was gonna say, "Let's go, dudes." And so Defran just did his own thing. And like, that's not. And I get that it's kind of cool that Defran did that. I mean, I think Blizzard kind of is trying to force that meme. But like, if Defran keeps leaking stuff like that after the leak, he might leak something that he shouldn't have leaked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that's where I'm kind of worried. Because stuff like that, okay, maybe the league is like, all right, Defran, that's cool. Just don't do that again. Maybe, you know, the fact that maybe they script some of the interviews, because that isn't gonna be looking. I'm sure they don't do all of them.
Yeah.
But that was probably just for a meme. But like, I'm afraid he's gonna leak something that shouldn't have leaked. Like, oh, dude, this actually happened backstage. You know, like that's what I'm afraid of. I mean, he's great though. Like, besides the meme, he's doing really well. I thought just because he plays Tracer and Soldier, a very good hit scan, he can play Zarya very, very, very well. He got solo grabbed a lot during that game. But he did very well. So, I mean, Atlanta Reign, they're doing very well. They got a big following now because of him. So I just hope that things stay that way.
I have something to say, actually. I have something to say about the Torbjorn thing with Defran. The casters were talking about this during the game. While the game was going on, the color commentary was talking about Defran's Torbjorn and even his tracking his Tracer and like why he's such a good DPS. And this is mainly for his Torbjorn, but they were talking about how he's able to hit his right clicks all the time. And you can see it on his stream too whenever he plays Torbjorn for just fun. Like, on ranked ladder, I've watched his stream before too, and I've watched videos and stuff like that, and it's completely true. Like, he pioneers the character, which is honestly why I think
he unironically destroys with Torb.
No, but like I'm being 100 serious.
Yeah, I
into the meta.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Like, he's a very talented player. He can adapt to any situation, and if he gets used to the way Torb's bullets go, he'll destroy him. But okay, so next one, Fuel versus Shock. Very sad for Fuel. I was watching. You were surprised, Justin?
No, I'm not really surprised. I don't know. I think Dallas Fuel is just a train wreck. In all honesty.
Okay, first things first that I need to talk about the Shock, because I was talking about them earlier and how they're a completely new team. Look at the DPS that they have. Striker, Baby Bay, Sinatra, and freaking Rascal and Architect. Like, look, do you think those DPS would do good on any teams? And they're all on the Shock. And then it's GOATs. The meta is GOATs.
Well, the thing is, what's kind of interesting is that the maximum amount of players you can have on an Overwatch League team is 12, and so they are I think they're one Korean support away for having an entire 6 American lineup and an entire Korean lineup. So like, and they signed like so many DPS. It's like, what are they? I don't know what they're going. This is a trend that I've seen. Like NYXL, they signed Nene DPS player. They signed Flower, DPS player. They signed someone else. I forgot, but I'm pretty sure they're a DPS player as well. Like, they legit think NYXL, Pine, Sabiobi, Libero, Flower, Nene. It's like you have such a pool of DPS talent. Why? I guess they're just signing them right now for security, you know, to make sure they don't get picked up by anyone else, I guess.
And then they just got smacked with GOATs.
Yeah, and then it's just GOATs. And
okay, wait, I have that I'm going to say, because, well, if you think about it right now, there's 2 there's two sort of metas that are developing. Goats, which I think for the safety of the game, I honestly think Blizzard kind of does have to get rid of goats because I just don't think the meta is healthy for the game in the long term. Because dive was.
But how? Like, it's so hard to get rid of goats because it takes. I think Preston and I talked about this. It takes each of those 6 heroes. And it takes their strengths and just pushes it to the limit. Like Brig's incredible healing and her stuns and bashes, her rally with the armor, Zenyatta with his transcendence, like 3 supports, insane amount of healing, a lot of defensive ults, so you have a lot of health as well. Zarya bubbles, so she does a ton of damage because everyone's taking damage. Like, how do you nerf goats without completely destroying a character?
You would have to rework a character to get rid of goats.
Yeah, like
I think this and this is probably an opinion that I have because a lot of people dislike Brig for what she stands not what she stands for, but just like the character that she is. I think I don't like the idea of Blizzard pulling a Destiny and completely destroying something that's really good and making it completely unusable. But
they wouldn't do that. I think that's not in their design philosophy.
Don't put a but, Nick. Don't say but.
No, I know they wouldn't want to do that, but I think if for the long term of their game, I don't think that they want to keep goats in either. Because dive, how long dive was there for? I think dive is completely different because dive is such a complex. Like the inner workings of dive are so complex,
but the inner workings of goats are also complex as well.
Are so complex. It's not like you can just pick up 3 supports, 3 tanks, and then just go slaughter in a competitive ladder solo queue.
You can still and that's just it's like it still takes a lot of skill, but on the surface, it doesn't look like it takes a lot of skill. That's the thing.
It's Reinhardt and Zarya.
Yeah, like half
kind of swing.
Like
and
legit,
shoot.
you don't have to aim with Reinhardt. You don't need to aim. Zarya, everyone's together. You're not gonna miss. You're always gonna be high charge. Lucio, it's like you don't really need to hit people. Let's be real. You're there for the speed. Zenyatta, everyone's clumped together. Brig, no one needs to Diva. No one needs to truly aim. And I guess the only argument is Zarya with their tracking, but for the most part, 3 tanks. For most people, it's gonna be hard to miss a lot.
I think the main difference between goats and dive and the impact they have on the meta and stuff, because at the end of the day, there's gonna be a meta and it's gonna come down to ult economy. I mean, you see that in almost every game. Whoever manages the ults better wins. But I feel like dive, you could win fights without ults, and goats, you have to have ults to win fights. But in Overwatch League, they can farm up a Grav so fast that they can outpace a Zenyatta getting their trans.
I will say, though, that people, I don't know how many, I don't know how universal this was, but a lot of people complained about dive being meta for too long. So I don't know what that says about, people complain about dive, but now people want to go back to dive. So it's like, I don't know. It's almost like that clip of Jeff Kaplan being like, "What the hell do people want?" We're trying here. It's just
I think. Sorry, go ahead, Justin.
I was gonna say, I think this. I just want to say 2 things. One about fixing goats, and I don't think there's. I think it'd be wrong to remove goats completely. I think it's interesting that it's a strategy, but I think the way to fix it would be to up the kill time just in general. So give some DPS, an insane amount of DPS. Give McCree a headshot multiplier or something. Blizzard doesn't want insta kill mechanics. They've said this before, right? But they need to increase the kill output or the damage output from the DPSs currently in the game. I feel like that would be enough to obliterate a support in goats, right? I feel like that's fair.
But see, well, do you have anything else?
To an extent, right? And then I just wanted to add to about teams picking up DPS characters. I don't mean to circle back, but I'm gonna do it. So I'm sure Preston knows what I'm talking about. But in the NFL draft, they often however many years, right? It'll be a defensive few years, and then it'll be an offensive few years, just based on how the players are, how the game is changing.
Yeah, I kind of get that. The only difference though is that when you compare it to real sports meta changing, that stuff takes years and like think about stuff like now like 10 years ago, not many people were taking 3-pointers. They're big men, Now, because of Steph Curry, a lot of 3-pointers, the big man isn't as big a thing anymore. But that took, I'd say, a good 4 or 5 years for that quote unquote meta to change. Overwatch, it's just a single patch.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that
I feel
you can't
like
patch life.
That's the main difference in like real life sports.
New patch, new patch. Added Steph Curry to the game.
Just drain threes in your face and all your health.
No, new hero.
I feel like that's the main difference, is that like body types you can't just change overnight,
Yeah.
Zion is gonna be big when he's 40, the same way he is when he's 18,
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So, next match we'll see. We won't. Chengdu Hunters against Guangzhou Charge. Chengdu Hunters wins 3-2. Now, looking back, I'm like, wow, because a lot of people don't think the Chengdu Hunters are that good, and yet they beat the Guangzhou Charge. I don't remember much.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Because they suck. They obviously are better than like most people, but compared to everybody else in the league, they're terrible at goats. They can't play goats because all they do is play around Ameng's Hammond, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's amazing at it. He is such a good Hammond.
It's like, okay, there's something that just and I guess this is like something Nick will talk about profusely. Is that so? In the first week, ready? So I've said this before, but I'll say it again. It's kind of funny. So, where is it? Right. So Shock 4-0 the Fuel.
Mm-hmm.
So by that logic, Shock is better than the Fuel. Then the Gladiators beat the Shock, so Gladiators are better than Shock. Then Seoul beat the Gladiator, so Seoul is better than all those other teams, right? By that logic.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that actually is, but by that logic. Then Seoul lose to the Fuel. And like this is one thing Nick talked about, is that like Goats is not like super skilled meta. And I get like some people say, oh, that's just an excuse that Nick will say whenever Boston Uprising loses. I kind of get what you mean. Like, I think Marco will say it too, because his favorite team, the Spitfire, are losing in Goats. But it's like part of it. It's not as it doesn't reward skill as much.
It is very much about ultimates and being able to count ultimates and managing an ult economy.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that I'm not saying that teams are bad at it. I'm not saying the Spitfire are bad at that. But I don't know. I'm not the best like analyst ever, but there is something else about Goats that just requires a different, whether it be different mindset or skill set or teamwork, how you work, that makes it very different from Dive.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's something to say about that, is because like you're saying, you have to put you have to put your best DPS players onto Brig, and like you're putting the best and Zarya. You're putting the best DPS players in the entire world, who possibly are the only people who could stop Goats. Like the only people who could possibly do enough damage to kill all the Goats, but you're putting them on you have to put them on the characters that are essential to the meta, because it's people are forced to play the meta. I'm sorry, I don't know where I'm going with this. I had a train of thought.
Okay. Well,
and
no, no. It's just like you can't counter Goats, at least in the pro level, because the comp that counters Goats gets super countered by Dive, and everyone wants to play Dive. So it's just like you're stuck in this. You just can't. The only way to beat Goats is to do tiny tweaks, like maybe a Sombra instead of a Diva, maybe a Winston instead of a Hunter, maybe a Moira, like just tiny tweaks. But in the end, it's still Goats against Goats, just different variations.
But the thing is that like the reason that you won't see Winston as much is because Winston into a Reinhardt is very bad. You want Reinhardt's to be
Yeah.
fighting it out, and if you have a Winston, it's okay on defense because he has great cleave when they're coming through chokes
Mhm.
and stuff, and he can farm up an ult really fast, but he just doesn't have the same potential
Yeah,
as Reinhardt.
especially on Horizon. I think that's a big trend where Winston will, because they'll go top right. Winston will cleave everyone, and then he'll get
Yeah.
primal and push everyone out the door in space. But okay,
Because he can cleave it so fast and
Yeah.
get it up so fast.
if for those of you who don't know, cleave is basically it's like doing damage to multiple targets, I guess. At this, because Winston, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So Spitfire loses 1-3 to the Paris Eternal. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't expect Paris Eternal to be that good. I knew they were good, but I don't know. Something about me just kind of doubted them a little bit. And I get it's
Yeah,
still one
they're-
match.
They're pretty decent. Well,
Um,
they had a match today.
oh, that's
that
fair.
They won 1-2.
It's fair. But yeah. So, anything about that game? Don't remember much. That's all right.
That was the one I did not watch. I started watching the Fusion Fuel game.
It's just not like I don't know. London's still struggling, and it just
Yeah,
sucks because I don't know. It's kind of this is the
We'll
one
see
thing.
what happens
I-
when they get a loss.
Yeah, I don't. Well, this is something like I think it was Nick who talked about where it's like the best team. If the best team, we were talking about like the best team in Overwatch, and the meta changes, and that's just kind of dumb, you know, because they're very skilled and they can't play the new meta. But then the counter argument to that is that if they can't adapt to the new meta, then they aren't the best team, you know.
That is exactly what I'm preaching, which is why for the longest time I didn't think that the NYXL were the best team in the league. They are by far the best team in the league at dive.
Yeah.
When dive was the meta.
Uh,
And
well, I
but
mean,
that's just-
there's-
they're still
They're-
3-0. We don't know yet, but
They're pretty okay at goats.
I mean,
too.
they are okay, but we'll see. We'll see later on. They're 3-0. They'll probably lose one at some point. Well, maybe after a few weeks, once the standings start to show themselves, we'll see how they truly are. But yeah, that's it's just kind of that's the main difference from regular sports is that patches can just change the entire landscape. Like Shock, their main reason, like there have been a lot of like rumors and just like whispers about how good they are in scrims. That's something that the caster said. Is like their scrim results, are like really impressive. All right, next one: Washington Justice versus NYXL. I'm telling you, these new expansion teams, like they're just going up. Like Justice, your first game. I get that also part of it is like entertainment because Giannis and Wizard Hyung. Because Giannis was the main tank, he used to play at NYXL, and his first game is him playing against his former team. And Wizard Hyung was the assistant coach for the NYXL, and now he's head coach for Justice. And I'm curious to see how well he'll do because he's like he's like a self-proclaimed genius. Wizard Hyung, yeah, and so a lot of people are like, well, is he actually really good, or was just the fact that NYXL had such talented players? We'll see how well he gets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they lose 1-3. I don't know how Giannis is the main tank. I get why he wasn't played much over Mono, because Giannis is just a lot more aggressive, and Justice just it's not Justice. They just I don't think they're a very good team. They spent a lot of money to try and get Giannis and Wizard Hyung, and the rest of their players are kind of shit because of that.
Yeah, that's true. I would if you tried to play devil's advocate here, you could say the same thing about freaking hold on, let me think about this. Like you say the same thing about Dallas Fuel last year, or I'm trying to think of like a better example. I guess the Fusion, right? What they started off with. They started off with pretty much no one huge, and then Carpe showed up because they put a lot of money into him, right? He finally adapted and became the good player, right? And I feel like that's maybe what they were trying to emulate, and that just wasn't the pick for them.
Okay,
No.
but you think about by the way, I switched mics. But you think about players compared what you're saying is you're comparing Giannis and Wizard Y'all or I probably pronounced his name
Wizard Hyung.
Wizard Young. It seems like you're comparing those two to Carpe, and then, but back in what you think about Giannis is he, yes, he was on the NYXL, but he got playing time last year, and when he played, he didn't play insane. Like he just seemed like a kind of he's definitely not bad. He's
There was
obviously
no reason to play him over Mono. That's the
exactly.
thing.
So, and if you're trying to compare him to a caliber player of like Carpe, and then Wizard Young is a coach, obviously, and he's a self-proclaimed genius, but like I don't think even those two combined don't add up to one of the best DPS in the entire world in Carpe. So you put all this money into these two people who you think might carry your team, but in reality it's a tank who didn't really
I get what
deserve
you
to.
mean.
It's a tank who didn't really deserve to play at all over one of the best tanks in the
Yeah.
entire league, and a self-proclaimed god coach when he really hasn't proven himself yet. So I think until they do prove themselves, I don't think that spending all that money on them is
It wasn't a good
the move.
idea.
No, I agree with that. I 100% agree with that right now. But I think it wasn't just like the player stats. I think it was the brand to the name, coming from NYXL.
Yeah.
It was probably assumed that they were god tier, just not as god tier as Mono.
We'll
Or,
see
you
how
know, as
they.
their coach.
I mean, we'll see how they go out. I don't know. All right. Next game is Valiant loses 2-3 to the Spark. One thing I just like kind of stood out to me for the Spark is Rhea. His diva bumps are really
Yeah.
good. Whether it just be himself or his team is playing really well around them.
Why are
Um,
there so many similar named
It's
people?
just like fusion.
There's
Fusions.
there's Rio, there's
It's just it's fusions and Philadelphia Fusion. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
also just all these new players I need to get used to. Like it's just like I'm sure I was just as confused in the beginning of the last season, but it's like you hear like Mono, main tank for NYXL. It's just kind of like with any sports league, I guess. You just have to like sort of remember the name. Other than that, there's not much I can remember from that game. But okay, Vancouver Titans 4-0 the Dragons. See again another example. Like first expansion teams, you're playing against the Dragons. Runaway. I was so excited to see them play. I remember one time the casters accidentally called them Runaway. But
Well, because that's what they are. That's what they're known for.
yeah, I mean,
Obviously,
if
think
you
of Runaway, you think of one of the best contender teams in the world.
if you guys don't know the story of Runaway, basically they're a team that's entirely founded and funded by one person. I forgot his name, but he used to play for the team, and then now I think he's like their coach or manager now. But the team was entirely funded by him and his wife, and it's just sort of like a Cinderella story where they were good, then they were bad, then they had a big comeback, and now they're a very good team. It's like it's a underdog story. And when they came to the Overwatch League, they just developed a huge fan base because they were Runaway.
They don't talk like underdogs anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Today I heard Bumper
Yeah.
predicted that he was gonna 4-0 everybody this week.
Yeah, I was just
That
Bumper.
didn't
Okay,
quite
Bumper.
go to
I
plan.
mean, he's doing pretty. He is
he's doing very
when
well.
it comes to Reinhardt's, he is number one in hero damage per 10 minutes. 9,036 hero damage per 10 minutes, which is really impressive. However, he's only ranked 21st out of 24 Reinhardt players in swing efficiency, which is like, it's basically, I think it's weird. Like there are so many statistics that I wish we had more access to. Like Captain Planet, if you don't know him, he used to run a website called Overbuff. And so now he's hired by the Overwatch League. He just does entirely like all those little like boxes that show up in the Overwatch League during broadcast. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Those statistics that show up. He does those. And he does those, like, he calculates, like, he has made a ton of new metrics, like swing efficiency. Like, I think swing efficiency is how many times you hit someone compared to, it's sort of like accuracy with swings. You know what I mean? Or even like he made so many metrics calculating Winston's primal rage efficiency. It's like how far you boot people, how long you can keep them in the air, how many jumps. It's like, it's crazy. I mean, he is one guy dedicated to.
It's crazy that you can even track that stuff.
Yeah, it's also, yeah, it's like a lot of the stuff I feel like is not, Overwatch can't track automatically. He probably has to go through footage and just like analyze stuff, and he can provide those statistics. And so I wish we had more access to those. I remember one time last year on the Overwatch League app, they accidentally made those results public for like an hour. Yeah. And so a lot of people took that data and they were able to say, oh, this guy's actually better than this, and blah, blah, blah. And I just wish we had more access to the stats. I don't know why.
You probably don't want like discrimination against the players.
That is fair, I guess. But I don't know. It's like, it's the Overwatch League. If you, I don't know.
No, I mean, if you're worse than somebody, I think, it should be obvious. Like, that should drive you to want to become better.
In some cases, it's very obvious.
There you go.
I don't know. I don't feel like I feel like the better Reinhardt, like, it kind of makes a difference, but it's not as big of a difference as you would like to think, because in ranked, a really good Reinhardt can absolutely destroy the other team. But Reinhardt really isn't the limiting factor on GOATs. I mean, you can have an okay Reinhardt, but if you have a disgusting Zarya, maybe a really good D.Va, you can still win a lot of fights.
On the other hand, though, it's like, I think a lot of Reinhardt players, you need to recognize how important you are just being alive. Like, if Reinhardt dies, it's basically like 2 people died. Like,
no stupid charges.
If you're playing GOATs, and if you focus all of your resources into killing the other team's Rein, no one's gonna blame you for it. Reinhardt is just so integral. I think Jane made this comparison. I think I've said this before, but I'll say it for the podcast, is that GOATs, so like Dive is like a battleship where if you lose a player, it's like losing the bridge, maybe losing a sail, maybe losing like the deck. It still floats. It's a shittier ship, but it'll float, But GOATs is like, GOATs is like a ship that if you just takes one thing off, it just sinks. Like, if you kill the Reinhardt, GOATs is dead. If you kill the Brig, GOATs is dead. If you kill the Lucio, GOATs is dead. And actually, one thing is that I've seen a lot, the Lucio is usually the first person that dies. And then I think that's mainly because the Lucio is the most aggressive one. He's trying to boop the enemy team out of position. You know what I mean? And even booping Reinhardt's out of the way for big D.Va bomb plays and stuff like that. They're just putting themselves out there to try and boop people out of position. Yeah, they can go on.
One thing I do love about GOATs, though, is the comical retreats. Like,
yeah,
they'll be going in,
one
and they're
person
like
will
set,
die,
and they're ready to take a fight. And as the fight's about to start,
one person dies,
and
they just all
the Lucio speed boosts, and everyone's holding us right back.
Everyone runs away.
And the other team is chasing them down, trying to get extra ult charge.
No, remember we made that comparison with with Corey, where this was on, I think it was on Rialto. So Atlanta Reign is attacking on Rialto. They cap first point on Rialto, and then so the enemy team, they get the second point spawn, which is further away, and Corey is just sneaking up. He's like hiding behind a corner, waiting to get. He's like he's pushed up so much further past his own team on the payload, and I think it was viewer Mark or Moss or whatever. It was like Corey is just like Zarya mains are like crack addicts. They just need more energy all the time. Like he just like, even though he won the team fight, even though they just capped the checkpoint, he's already pushing up. He just needs more energy.
He's gonna go spawn camp to get energy.
He needs more
get
energy.
his ult faster.
Exactly. But one metric that I found was really interesting is that they compared all six heroes and GOATs. They compared their stats from the last season, and the one thing that really, of course, a lot of stats, they just do more damage and more healing and whatnot, but the one stat that kind of stood out to me was Lucio. he especially when it comes to his speed. Basically, he's using his speed aura 70% compared to. Well, so, okay, so in the 20. Let me look at this. Jeez. Basically, he's
In
using his.
2018, it was 40%, wasn't it?
So he's using his speed 30% more often.
Mm-hmm.
Which is huge. I mean, it also kind of makes sense because goats. There's that.
Is slow.
Yeah, it's very. Yeah. All right. So, next day of matches. Well, Houston Outlaws versus Boston Uprising. They lose again. This is an Houston Outlaws. In the first 2 games, they both go to 5 game. They both go to a 5th game, and they lose that 5th game. Against the Uprising. Now, do Fusions play in this game?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably why they won. Yeah, I don't know why Fusions was subbed out. I'll be honest. Maybe Uprising are like reconsidering after they lost to the Dragons.
Fusions, I think he's slept on. I think Fusions is. I think Fusions is a great Reinhardt.
He's very well. I mean, props to I don't know their coach, but he very good scouting, picking up Fusions before the World Cup too. This is before he became famous in the World Cup. But even like in scrims. Back when he was on British Hurricane, if you hear the communications, he's very loud, he's very vocal, and especially I think a lot of teams would appreciate having a main tank who is just willing to take charge, and that's I think the job of a lot of main tanks in the Overwatch League is what they do is they maybe they're not always shot calling, they're probably not tracking ults or whatever, but their main job in communication is to just tell the team where to go, and they say just follow me or we're gonna go this way. And I don't know how well Axiom is as shot calling. Is Axiom even is he Korean? Because someone look this up right now. If he's Korean,
he's Korean, I think.
Korean. Okay, and that also that makes it harder. Like I don't know. They're probably speaking English.
I looked up. I tried to see who the coach was to the Boston Uprising. One on their website. One they don't have it. Okay, but first off, they have pictures for every single player on the team except for Fusions.
Really?
On their own team website. They don't have a picture for Fusions. What the hell?
He's new.
Yeah, he's.
I know he's new, but what the heck?
Yeah, it's so.
He deserves.
And that just makes it more confusing having a Korean. They're probably communicating in English.
Maybe they don't have his picture up because it looks like he has a box for a head.
You're not wrong.
That is a square jawline.
So yeah, you know what? He's a talented Reinhardt player. We'll take it.
Yeah. Hey, it breaks up the normal very very round jawline.
Philadelphia Fusion beats the Atlanta Reign 3-2. I'm impressed the Atlanta Reign even got to a 5th map against the Fusion. Even though they lost, I think it's still a victory in their books. 2nd game of their season, they almost beat the Fusion in 5 maps.
I think talking about the expansion teams, you look at the Atlanta. I think for the most part, I think the Atlanta Reign are what people would say. It's early, but I think the Atlanta Reign are the team right now that a lot of people are looking at with the biggest eyes and looking at them and see the most potential in. Not even just in Defran. Like you look at Defran, yes.
I wouldn't agree with that.
Me or Nick?
I think that it's too early to pass judgment, but tomorrow after about 7:30, we'll know.
What's tomorrow? Who are they playing? Someone?
Vancouver Titans faces the Shock. I think
Ooh.
the Titans.
Well, okay, we'll talk about like our predictions for the matches later.
But I'm just saying, I don't know. I wouldn't say Atlanta Reign has the most potential.
Yeah. All right. So
But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong.
yeah. Okay. Shock lose to the Gladiators 3-2. Not much I can say about this. Anyone?
Yeah.
No.
No, it was a roll.
All right. Seoul loses 1-3 to the Fuel. I mean, it's good for Seoul. It's good for Fuel. They're able to get a win. Nice morale boost.
Yeah.
I just kind of feel
They
bad.
put Mickey in.
I do feel bad. Yeah, Mickey, no starting. It's like I think a lot of people are saying Effect isn't that good. It's like
he's not.
I don't know, man. It kind of
You can't
sucks.
say you can't. I'm sorry, you can't say Effect is not good. He's an amazing DPS.
No,
It's
did
the
you
meta
watch him last year? Last year he didn't do anything. He did 0. AKM played a better Genji than he did.
AKM
Whoa.
Blade.
And that's sad.
AKM
Whoa,
Blade. You're
now.
gonna go there. People were measuring times in units of AKM blades.
No, they said they were gonna change that soon. Who was it? There was a Reaper on Queen's Row who had to wait the full time to get his ult because they
Who?
were just behind the Reinhardt shield. I don't remember what game it was.
Is it, I'm surprised no one else called the fact that Preston said Queens Row.
Queen's
I
right.
meant King's Row.
Um,
I was busy thinking.
Dude, wait, really? Does it consent? What?
Yeah, that was an actual thing.
He couldn't shoot through the Reinhardt shield, so it just
Yeah.
really. Oh my god.
Yeah, they respected him so much. Oh, who was it? But they respected the potential of
Damn.
Reaper so much because they didn't have a diva that they just backed away. They would give him space. They would respect where he was, and it took him super long to farm up an ult.
Okay. Spitfire. Preston and I were watching this game. Almost loses to the Justice.
Oh yeah.
I don't think people. I think people look at this match and don't say. People, instead of going, well, you know what? London's still good. They reverse swept the Justice. No, people look at this and say, they
almost got swept by the Justice.
Yes, yeah. Like they were down. Like the Justice. People consider them to be a quite not the best team in the and they C9'd really bad
Yeah.
on New Bayern.
Yeah,
that was awful.
a really bad C9.
And like they just don't. I don't know what's going on when it comes to their goats. Florida Mayhem beats the Fusion 2-1. Really impressed, actually. I guess maybe the Mayhem have something going after they. I'm so confused why they literally filled their roster with all Koreans and then they fired their only Korean coach. But I guess they're not
like that.
Yeah, I mean they beat the Fusion, not doing too bad, and then Guangzhou charged 4 to fuel.
Okay, there's something that I need to talk about.
Yes.
And it's the matter of all of these teams that you would expect to be good losing a bunch and losing against teams that you wouldn't expect them to lose to. But if you look at the games that we are going to go over and the games that we have gone over, a lot, like so many of it is one team losing to, like we talked about this earlier. It's one team losing to someone, and then that's someone else beating someone else. But like it goes full circle. Like what we were talking about earlier, where I think it was the example that you used was the Fusion. I think it was the Fusion it was during week 1. Oh, it was the Soul beat the Gladiators, but
Yeah.
then
Yeah, they
That,
lost.
that whole train.
It's not very.
that whole train, it's a circle, and so you can't, like, I think it's still way too early to see who the good teams are. I think right now, besides the MIXL, who like are kind of destroying everybody.
Okay, not destroying. They beat the Valiant 3-2.
No, yeah, I know. But like
They're
even then,
pretty
like all
okay.
of these games are so close between all of these teams, and all these teams are losing
I
to
guess I don't know.
teams that also beat other teams.
Except
but then
for
they
all the
lose.
4-0s.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, I mean they're still 4. Like Seoul Dynasty next game they 4-0 the Chengdu Hunters.
Okay, but and this is actually something that I saw last year. And last year I watched a bunch of Overwatch League last year, but I actually didn't watch as much because I could tell when there was a game that I didn't want to watch because the game was not going to be close. This year, there's no games that I don't want to watch because I can't tell who's going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Okay, I guess that's fair, but there's still some stuff that I can see what you're going. I can see where you're going.
And I
I
still think that has roots in the meta that we're playing right now, because I
Nick
think
just doesn't like the meta.
yeah, he
okay,
doesn't.
no,
He
yes, I'm not a huge
he
fan
circles
of,
back to goats.
no, I'm
Can't.
not a huge fan of goats.
He's
But-
not a meta slave. Get him out of here.
I'm not a huge fan of goats, but one thing that you can't deny about goats is the efficiency, like is how you have to be able to manage ult economy. And sometimes the ult fight just doesn't go your way. No matter how good of a team you are, you could still And a lot of the points the casters are making during fights is whoever uses your support alts last usually ends up winning the fight because you can conserve them for survivability.
It's
But
almost like it's been that way since the beginning of the game.
no, but it's completely different in this matter because sometimes you can't afford to save your support alts because
You
of
gotta use them.
Yeah, so that's why forcing them out generally causes you to win the team fight. So you grab and then you diva bomb, so they have to trans and then Lucio ult, and then you can do whatever you want because what? They grab you, diva bomb you, well then you trans Lucio ult, hammer down,
And you
know,
all do it again. Next fight, everyone.
Exactly.
This is GOAT.
Exactly.
Okay, no,
Really, it's just a bunch of big ult
we'll move on.
exchanges.
We'll move on. Atlanta Reign 3-1. Toronto Defiant. Toronto Defiant, not a very good team, I don't think.
Yeah.
Expected. And my Excelsior against the LA Valiant. This one was a close one.
Closer, yeah.
I will say though, during that game, Meko had 24 self-destruct kills and 8 2 grabs. Space had 8 self-destruct kills and 8 0 grabs. I think people still the not making the finals, I think, was a big blemish on NYXL's like amazing season, and I still think people kind of like don't realize that they're still a very good Meko, very good
Yeah.
team. They just, even like going back to their LW Blue days, back before Overwatch League, they still had a tendency to choke. And in this case, it was just because of the meta change. But okay, Shanghai Dragons 3-1
Now-
Uprising. Now
now
this
the
is the
big
game.
one.
This is the big one.
So Nick, I'll be the first to let you know.
It's okay.
This is proof that Boston sucks.
Well, Nick, we kind of joked about this, but you're gonna say that, oh well, Uprising didn't play Fusions, that's why they lost.
I didn't get to see the game. I'm sorry.
But I mean, honestly, I can't blame you. Like I think that's a big what if for a lot of Uprising fans. What if Fusions played? Would they have lost to the Dragons? And it wasn't like a close game. It was a 3-1, and they almost
Yeah.
it
It was almost a sweep.
It almost a
was,
4-0, but-
it was a team fight away from a full sweep.
Uprising got full held on Rialto. On the fourth map, Uprising got full held on Rialto. It's just that Shanghai didn't push it as far. But still, it's like,
Yeah.
it could have been a 4-0. And dang, oh my god, 152. 152
Oh,
enemies
my.
hacked.
Ding was
Crazy.
insane.
And I guess that, yeah, oh my god, dude.
Okay, I have one point to make before we move on because
No, we're not moving on from this.
Oh no, this.
Sorry,
this
Nick,
is,
what were you saying?
this
Keep
is
talking.
this is history.
Okay.
Keep talking.
I already talked about this earlier about how the teams on the bottom of the standings last year completely redid their rosters. Yes, Shanghai went a record-setting 0-40 last year, but that is completely different this year. Yes, what they stand for is 0-40 because that's what everyone knows them for. But you can't. That same argument doesn't matter anymore. It's still early in the season, but you look at their roster last year and then this year, it's completely different. You can't expect it to go the same way with completely different players. Unless those players that you are bringing in were all masters and masters players.
I get that, but it's still,
They got swept in week 1.
yeah, they got. I mean,
Or no, I guess so. They got beat by both the expansion teams. They got beat by the Spark 3-1, and then the Vancouver Titans
Okay,
just
but
swept them.
still,
it
Nick,
was
like, you
looking
can't-
like it was gonna be a Shanghai.
like the old Shanghai.
Yeah, old
Still,
Shanghai.
Nick, come on, they won. Let's just relish in that.
No, I know that they won.
Oh,
and
Yeah.
it was that was a pretty great day. Like Shanghai won. Elon Musk hosted meme review, and
Come on.
And it was Steve Irwin's birthday. I mean,
Oh shit, you're right.
yeah,
damn,
it was
that-
February 22nd.
Holy
Mark
shit.
it down. You're gonna tell your kids about it. You were
Um,
there.
Yeah.
all right, Houston Outlaws versus the Hangzhou
No, no,
Sparks.
no, no, we're no. We're
No.
talking. Nick, we didn't see any of those games today because we were at rehearsal. Okay.
I only saw the fusion fuel Titans charge.
Oh
and
shit!
then
They
Fierce Mayhem.
lost to the. Damn. Okay. I should watch that. Okay. Later. Okay. We'll just answer. There's only there's two. Okay. Yeah. We had two questions here. We'll just answer them right here. Mr. Luckybot, how are you feeling about Shanghai's win, and what does it mean for Boston? I don't think there's anyone who's not feeling good about Shanghai's win.
Oh no.
Like, let's be real. And
Maybe it's just a relief.
except for
Except for maybe Nick.
like, I feel like even Boston, like, I feel like even Boston, like, well, I get like
Yeah, they've lost 42. We felt like
Yeah.
giving them one.
and what that means for Boston, yeah, like, is Fusion's gonna be like, hey, I'm just saying, I played 2 games, we won those games, or wait, did they win? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they.
Yeah.
And then second you sub me out,
Or they came close to
Yeah.
NYXL.
second you sub me out, you lose to the Dragons. Like,
Yep.
I don't know what that means for Boston. Maybe they'll, again, maybe it's like, all right, it's a new Dragons. They're definitely better than last year, but I think, I don't know how much the Boston organization will treat this. Like, will they be, nah, it's not a big deal, or they'll be like, shit, or is this a wake up call?
Or is just like, oh, we gotta fix something.
Yeah.
Or is it just they had a Sombra, we didn't really
Yeah.
know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
ruined us.
Kabum says, what team do you guys think is gonna win Overwatch League this season?
It's too early to tell. It's way
No,
too
but Kabum asked us. We gotta answer it. So, okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb just because they're my favorite team and we live in this area. NYXL. I have faith. It's still too early to tell, and don't quote us. I don't think you should quote us on any of these predictions, but at least for me,
Unless we're right.
yeah, unless they're right. But for me, it's I don't know, NYXL. I still think that they have something to them that they just, I don't know. Plus, I'm a big fan, so can't cut out Joe Neck.
Okay, my predictions. What I think, and this is probably gonna be weird, but I see.
He's like the
I'm
defiance.
not saying I'm not.
The
I'm
just
not being biased. In fact, I actually am trying to be the exact
the
opposite
Uprising.
of biased. I'm actually trying to look at this. I'm trying to look at this as straight as I possibly can, and I see so much potential in the ads that the San Francisco Shock had. I think this is all an if, but if the meta shifts away from goats and actually shifts to the other meta that's kind of developing under goats, which is a multi-DPS meta, I think the insane DPS of San Francisco Shock will absolutely destroy everybody.
I can't not. I mean, I see why. I mean, I can't.
So that's an if, and if that doesn't happen, then I might either have to go back to the MYXL or maybe even the Fusion again, because
Yeah.
I like the Fusion. Yes, the Fusion.
No,
have
I don't think.
lost-
No. Nick's like Fusions. Like, wait, you think the Philadelphia Fusions? Like, no, I mean just Fusions will win. just Fusions will win the Overwatch League season 2.
1v6.
Like here,
So
Nick.
I think-
Okay, yeah, go on. Sorry.
So my predictions are it goes one of two ways. If it switches metas and goes to the other meta, which is multi DPS, then I think the Shock have tons of potential there, and that's an
But
actual.
even
specific team
now,
that I'm talking about.
they're still pretty good in Ghosts.
Exactly, but that's
Okay. All right.
that's kind of relevant right now. But and then what happens the other right now is if the meta doesn't shift from goats, then I think the team with the best Reinhardt,
Which
who
is
proves themselves as the best
Oh,
Reinhardt.
okay.
will
Oh, okay.
win.
Go in the ambiguous. All right, Justin. What do you
No.
think?
No,
Um,
and I don't know.
No,
what team
no.
that
Your
is.
time is over.
You're done.
I think throughout this podcast, it's become very apparent that I think
It's the
Atlanta
justice.
Reign as,
Atlanta Reign, really?
is like my favorite team, and I think, predicting a meta switch, I think would benefit them more.
Mhm.
Obviously, I can talk about the Fran all day, but they do have talent on that team,
Yeah.
and this just isn't the meta to show it off.
hmm
They're just lucky that their whack strats are kind of working right now.
Yeah.
Let's
Let's be
go.
real.
Let's go.
Bastion, let's go, dude.
Yeah.
But that's my prediction.
All right, Preston.
Okay, so if there's not a meta switch, I'm gonna have to go with the Vancouver Titans.
All right, respectable.
I think they
Take a
have the
run.
talent it takes. Right? I'm pretty sure they could do it.
Mhm.
Assuming that Goats doesn't change for a whole year. If I had to bet on anybody, I would probably bet on the Philadelphia Fusion just because
Yeah.
Carpe and EQO are both sick.
Yeah.
I mean, Poco is absolutely disgusting. Neptuno, and they've all been there.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's not new to them. They've been there. They've been on the highest stage, and they'd be ready for it. So
Yeah. Okay.
my bet's Fusion.
Yeah. No, just
Yep.
fusions.
Just Fusions.
1v6. Can you imagine at the ORG Grand Final? It's like this. It's like a long desk for 6 players, and then the other side is just a short desk.
and then he wins.
Dude, fucking pops off.
Okay,
hits
this is
hits
a question.
hits every fire strike.
This is a question that
yeah.
This is a question that I'm actually going to pose.
Oh,
Who do you
no.
think is the worst team in the league?
Boston Uprising.
Boston Uprising, bar none. Oh, jeez.
Nick, you kind of set us up for that one.
I'm being serious.
Yeah, I am too.
Lost to the Shanghai Dragons, for crying out loud. The Shanghai Dragons. That even if we don't count last year, right? That's still 2 games where they got just.
I mean, actually,
decimated.
before the Uprising game, they were actually technically at the bottom of the standings, so they were still the worst team in the season 2.
Yeah. Because they got 1,
And then they
3,
lost to the Uprising.
and
So
then they
so
got
now
4-0'd,
so
and
now the stats. So now the stats, whatever the stats will tell you, we all know that Uprising is the worst team in the Overwatch League.
It says justice, but
We all know it's the Uprising.